All right, hi, how are you guys? So, what we're going to talk about today is the foreign policy of George Washington and then the presidency of John Adams. And we're going to tackle his foreign policy as well, and then really his domestic policy, which are very, very much intertwined because the two are going to affect each other very much. So, there are three words I want you to remember for George Washington's foreign policy. Are you ready? Neutrality, neutrality, neutrality. Neutrality all the way, all right? So we talked about his domestic policy at home and the Whiskey Rebellion and how he said, you're not kids anymore, we're a country, knock it off, we don't do this. All of that's going on at home. Our foreign policy for George Washington is going to be that we are like this baby little country, this little fledgling deer. We can't go out in the wild, not yet. We are just formed. It's not time to take on these big countries and big issues yet, and especially not militarily. We just can't do it, and we need to protect ourselves right now. So George Washington is going to have that. Neutrality is his big foreign policy, and then John Adams is going to also adopt that, and everybody, even including Thomas Jefferson, is really going to copy that and also use that. So one of the first things that George Washington has to deal with is the issue of this French Revolution. We are not going to be a part of this. This is a crazy situation. And if you don't remember your French Revolution from last year in European history and global studies, 2 million people are dead. There's 2 million casualties. People are getting brutally murdered in bathtubs. This is out of control. Heads are rolling. People are getting guillotined. This is not something for us to get involved in right now. And of course, France's argument, and Jefferson, who's going to be so upset that we do not help, is going to be, but we helped you. So if you pick up a pencil for me, that doesn't mean that you assist me in a gang fight later in the parking lot. They're not the same thing. So we are not talking just a simple return of a favor. We're talking a very different, much more violent situation where you can't really gauge who's in power, who's going to, eventually win this French Revolution. We know that the reign of terror, Robespierre, just keeps going on. So George Washington's advice, and this is what we ultimately follow, is that we are going to stay out of this bloody, twisted war. He says, I'm not getting America near it. And he declares our neutrality in 1793 with the Neutrality Proclamation. With that, big ripple effect. Jefferson is going to be very upset, loves France. He is going to completely resign as Secretary of State. Many people think this makes us look disloyal. There's going to be Citizen Genet, who is going to be an ambassador to the United States from France. He is furious, and he actually says, don't listen to your president, don't listen to Washington, let's still do this. And Washington has to get a new ambassador, basically deal with him and tell him to stop being insubordinate. It is a whole thing. But Washington's onto something. If you are, somebody who is 3 feet tall, this isn't the time to take on a linebacker in a fight. And this is America. We are, again, this fledgling small country that is just formed. Now is not the time to immerse ourselves in the middle of a very bloody, very, very dramatic European conflict. So that is his reasoning. And what we constantly do, we take the route of diplomacy over fighting. So we always are going to be, hey, can we have a meeting? Can we talk about this? Can we sign a treaty? Do something like that instead of fighting, because we just can't handle that right now. We're just getting our act together. Again, now's not the time to get involved in all of that. So how do we stay out of foreign trouble? We sign these treaties. We're going to have 2 treaties. The first one in 1794 is with the British, and that's Jay's Treaty. And Jay's Treaty, the British are not being nice to us. They have lots of reasons not to like us. Little revolution thing in the past, right? And they're taking our sailors, throwing them into prison. Ultimately, this is going to continue and be a cause of the War of 1812. And we establish Jay's Treaty, and this says to Britain that they will pay damages to our ships, and they will also evacuate those forts in the Northwest Territories. And then we pull that old chestnut out, and we're like, oh yeah, we'll pay back your debt. We'll pay back the taxes we owe you. No, still waiting. We haven't done that, right? And then we have Spain and Pinckney's Treaty, and this is in 1795. And of course, these guys are going to be John Jay and Jay's Treaty and Charles Pinckney and Pinckney's Treaty. This is us playing nice with Spain, right? Spain got nervous. They were like, you're talking to Britain. They look so nice today. Are you still friends with me? We have to then go to Spain and say, don't worry. We're not too buddy-buddy with Great Britain. We are also friendly with you, and we reassure them by settling up some border disputes we had had with them in the southern region of our country. And we reestablished that boundary with Florida. And this opens up New Orleans for us for trade, which is going to be just huge, right? And we're going to talk about New Orleans as this awesome melting pot that it is, with all this French history and Spanish history and pirate history. We're going to get into all of it. Conflicts in the Northwest Territories. As you can imagine, the more we expand and grow as a country, the more conflict we have with Native Americans, many of whom are Native Americans who have moved west post-proclamation of 1763, very good, and now we're just continuing to meet them there. So we're going to have issues with Northwest Territory tribes who are there, and one of them is going to be under Chief Little Turtle, and he kind of allies a bunch of tribes together and fights against the governor of the Northwest Territories, whose name is Arthur St. Clair. And they try to force him out. There's a guy whose name is General Anthony Wayne, who is going to bring tons of reinforcements, and Little Turtle and his men realize that they are outnumbered far too late, and they are going to lose. It's what's called the Battle of Fallen Timbers. So the terms are going to be settled at the Treaty of Greenville, and this is going to give that Miami tribe that land to white people, and we know that's why we have Miami of Ohio, and we talked about before how so many of those Native Americans are actually sent to Florida to be imprisoned with this theme of kill the Indian, save the person, which is absolutely terrible, and they start to whitewash and everything in these prisons and have cleansing, and it's terrifying that these people actually think what they're doing is the very best thing. And this is in the wake of things like Sullivan's expedition with George Washington, and really genocide, and the times changing of George Washington meeting people where they were at these tribal meetings in the White House, and now doing things like this. We can tell where this is going, and it's going nowhere good. I have a class starting. I'll be back. Bye.